Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Tehillim Treasures, where we will plumb the beautiful depths and treasures of Tehillim from the very beginning of Tehillim to the end of David HaMelech's masterpiece. This episode is brought to you by Chazaq. Chazaq is an organization that helps public school children become Shomrei Torah mitzvahs, exposes them to the beauty of Torah and mitzvahs. Imagine for a moment you're standing in a store or you're walking down the street. You know the neighbor. You've known them for many years. You see their children riding their bike in the driveway. And you know they're Jewish. But now there's someone who can help them take the next step. And that is Chazaq, with countless programs after school and other wonderful programs to help expose them to the beauty of Yiddishkeit. If you know someone or know someone that knows someone that can help these children, then please email at psty@chazaq.org. This episode is also brought to you by Chickens for Shabbos. Chickens for Shabbos is exactly what it says it is, plus more. There are many people. There are Melamdim's children. There are Agunis. There are Grushis. There are families that do not have simple essentials for Shabbos and for life. Whatever they need, Chickens for Shabbos is there to provide. Please do your utmost to help in any way you can. This week, as we continue our journey through Tehillim Treasures, we will be doing Kapitel Kuf Chav Tes and Kuf Lamed, chapters 129 and 130. 129 is not the most famous of the Shir Amalos. And we begin the first pasuk, and then again in the second one, we say, Rabas Tziraruni Mina Urai. Much have they distressed me since my youth. The tzaras of Golus are difficult and endless. But the Chidah, in his Sefer Yosef Tehillim, reveals a very powerful insight. And it may help us with some of our pain. He says, the numerical value of the word tziraruni is the same value as the word tikkun, which is the gematria of 556. Tikkun means to rectify, to fix. Everybody has tsaras. Everybody has difficult times. But what makes the tsara so difficult is that we don't know why it's happening. If somebody sat you down in the room, if the Ribbono Shel Olam sat you down in a room and he said, listen, I got to give you a patch and I want to explain why. Remember this and this day, this and this thing happened? So in order for you not to suffer in the next world, I need to give you a little bit of pain. Lahavdil, lahavdil, lahavdil. It's like a little child, Lamashal, who goes to the doctor. And the doctor tells him, listen, I know that this is going to hurt. You tell the little baby. But this shot, which gives you some pain, and it's going to be painful, and you're going to cry. But you understand, it's helping prevent serious illness later on in life. And he takes out a long needle, and he gives the baby a shot. The baby's crying, the baby's looking around wondering, why is nobody stopping? And the mother understands, the father understands, what do you mean? This is to prevent them from suffering later on. Rabas tziraruni mina uroi. A person has to know in whatever tzara comes our way. The tzara is only there to bring a tikkun, to bring the rectification for that which we need. There's another very geschmacka play on words, because the word tikkun, when you switch around the letters, is kinais. Kinais are the lamentations that we cry on Tisha B'Av. And we read through all the tsaras that have happened throughout the years in the history of Klal Yisrael. And those tsaras have been very, very traumatic. You had the period of the Crusades and the period of the Chazaqs and the Inquisitions and the Holocausts. And each one of those tsaras we cry for. But we're crying, and at the same time, our tikkun is coming, our rectification is coming. There's a purpose to the tzara. And if a person knows there's a purpose to the tzara, it makes it that much more tolerable. We're able to be mekabel the Yisurin ba'ava, hopefully ba'ava. Because if a person is mekabel Yisurin ba'ava, if we accept that suffering with love, then it allows the tikkun to be complete and full. And our neshamas are then cleansed entirely. And that is something that really should give us much chizuk. A chassid once complained to Rabbi Yeshua of Belz that he was unable to make a living. He tried one parnasa after another, nothing was working. He told him to move to a different country and try to make a living there. And before he left, the Rebbe told him to write him letters, keep him informed of what's going on, keep me posted. When he first arrived, the chassid was completely overwhelmed. He and his family were having a very difficult time starting. Kol aschal is cautious, all beginnings are difficult. And he began to wonder if he had made a mistake. So he wrote the Rebbe a letter describing his situation, and the Rebbe responded, continue to make it work. Keep trying. A few months later, things began to turn. He was making a nice living, and he and his family were now comfortable. They were doing well. They were happy. He wrote another letter to the Rebbe, updating him, and when he received the Rebbe's response, he was shocked. The Rebbe instructed him, come home immediately. He told him, as long as he was unsettled, he would realize he's in Galus. But now that things had changed, and you were at ease, now the danger of Galus can become a real threat. We're uncomfortable. It's Galus. It's difficult. We have challenges. But that's okay. It's bringing our tikkun. When everything is riyak and everything is calm, that's when we need to begin to worry that we're getting a little too comfortable. Moving on to Kapitel Kuf Lamed, one of the most famous kapitlich in all of Tehillim. Shir Amalois Mimama Kim Kirasicha Hashem. A song of ascents, from the depths I call to you, Hashem. And everybody knows this kapitel Baal Peh. And David HaMelech wrote this song, Mimamakim, from the depths. You know, in many shuls, when you walk to daven for the Amud, there's an area where you step down, because halachically, you're supposed to be davening a little bit lower than the rest of the tzibur, because you're supposed to be davening mimamakim, from the depths. And when you cry from the depths, that's when it's effective. Not only the aesthetic depths, not only the superficial depths, but the depth of your heart, the depth of pain. That's really when tefillah is most effective. Chafetz Chaim writes in Likutei Amorim that all of the many tzaras that come upon us, and from that which we are not saved, are because we don't scream out in tefillah. In other words, if we would scream out properly in tefillah, mimamakim, then we'd be saved from our tzaras. Now that is an awesome idea. Chafetz Chaim is saying that if we cry hard enough, we can be saved from the tzara. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll get the result that we want, but our tikkun will come about. It's not enough, says the Chafetz Chaim, for a person to daven Shemona Esrei 3 times a day. Throughout the day, a person should compose his own tefillas and cry out to Hashem. Practically speaking, a person can be driving the car, and you're on for a drive. So what are you doing on the drive? You're listening to some music. Maybe you put on a podcast. You're talking on the phone to someone. You know, sometimes I drive very late at night. And when you're driving very late at night and you have a long drive and everybody's gone to sleep, and sometimes it's good to have a talk with Hashem. Sometimes it's good to just talk things out. One of my favorite stories in the world is a story that Rabbi Dr. Abraham J. Twersky told over. What a yid. And he said that one time he walked up to visit the Kaisel. And he walks and he sees an old Svardish yid standing at the Kaisel. And he sees that this yid puts his old weathered hands onto the kaisel, onto the wall. And he's muttering. And Rabbi Twersky was curious, like, what was the tefillah? He didn't want to intrude and he didn't want to be invasive, but he wanted to hear what the person was saying. And the tefillah was the most beautiful tefillah in the world. The first part he couldn't make out, but then he heard the man say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I told you that yesterday." In other words, he was having a conversation with the Ribbono Shel Olam. And when somebody wants to talk to Hashem, Hashem is always ready to listen. But we have to make sure that we're talking mimamakim. We're talking from our depths. We're talking with brokenness in our heart. And when we do, the Ribbono Shel Olam will always answer. Until next time, sei gesund.